Well, welcome back to Radio Entrepreneurs, the conscious business show where we connect the heart, the mind to the wallet. We're excited today to have Jay Jacobs, VP Director of Research at Global X, joining us. And actually, Global X is a co-sponsor of this particular show, so we're very excited to have them work with us to produce the Conscious Business Show. But Jay, I know there's been a lot of activity in Global X in terms of exchange-traded funds and different product that you have put together, and in particular, the Global X Conscious Companies ETF, or Karma, as we call it. A great name for that product, by the way. And so we're very excited to have you with us today. I wonder if you can just take a few minutes to share with our listeners how this product came to be, the focus for Global X, and pretty much the journey that has taken you and the organization to focus on creating a conscious capitalism ETF, if you will.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So first of all, thank you for having me on the show today. Really excited to be here, but happy to dive into what we're seeing from the investment space in terms of people really looking to invest along with their personal values. This is something that really in the last couple of years has started to take off. The people we work with most closely are financial advisors, and the amount of questions, very anecdotally, but the amount of questions we're hearing from financial advisors today about what is the ESG space, what's the value investing space, what are the different types of products that are out there, how can I access it, has absolutely exploded over the last few years. And I think the real driver behind this is the end client, the mom and pop that's giving their money to the financial advisor to invest. Those people are asking their financial advisor, how can I invest along with my personal values? I think if you take a step back, investing can be very impersonal. You're turning money into more money if you're good at it. And that can sometimes seem somewhat cold to people. But if you can put a spin on it where you derive sort of more pleasure, if you will, out of your investing because you're investing in something that you hold very closely to your personal values, then it can turn something that's pretty impersonal into something that is more personal and a more enjoyable process. So it is certainly taking off over in the last few years, and we're seeing a lot more attention within our own company and with other people in the space to provide different types of products out there that can give people easy access to investment themes that align with their values.
Now, and you bring up an interesting perspective because getting into the value-based discussion, you are going to change that experience, right, for that investor and how they interact with their advisor. Eventually, the investment process really is going to change to a huge degree. I mean, it's a welcome change because we're having this more holistic dialogue between advisors and investors and looking at their whole life, right, in terms of how they're making brand decisions. If I remember correctly, Global X really moved more directly into this space off of a conscious capitalism index. I mean, you really took that and created this exchange-traded fund, if you will, that you're now working with advisory groups to support. Talk to us a little bit about the criteria in that fund in terms of labeling it as conscious capitalism and conscious companies. How do you determine that, or what are some of the criteria that goes into that product?
Sure, absolutely. So to give a little bit of background about how this product came about, we were approached by a financial advisor, Kyle Chudum of the Chudum Hayes Group out in Chicago, one of the largest Morgan Stanley advisors. And he really reiterated what we've been hearing, which is that he has clients that are asking about investing in their personal values. Older clients, younger clients, the kids of clients that stand to inherit money are all very interested in a more sort of positive approach to investing in companies. And what he found when he looked in the space was sort of two ends of the spectrum. On one end of the spectrum is what I would call just traditional ESG funds, where they start with a broad market index called the S&P 500 or the MSCI USA, and they kick out a few companies that don't meet the ESG requirements. Maybe they pollute a lot, maybe they have bad governance, maybe they're not very progressive on social issues, but for the most part, it kind of looks and feels like a benchmark with a couple of companies taken out. At the other end of the spectrum is what I would call impact funds, which are very concentrated funds on a specific theme, such as accessibility to water or alternative energy, which can be great funds, really interesting topics that they're trying to help through their funding, but it is very concentrated, and it's tough to make that really the basis of someone's core part of their portfolio. So when we were talking to Kyle, he really wanted something that was in the middle. Is there an approach where we can positively identify companies that are doing a good job of basically being good corporate citizens, not just scoring well in governance and social issues, but are they treating their customers well? Are they treating their employees well, even their suppliers, and of course the environment, and of course shareholders? But really looking at it from a holistic approach to create a more positive investment thesis, and to really feel good about those companies. So that is when we connected with Confinity Advisors. They've been in the space for quite a while, doing a ton of research on companies and what they refer to as the multi-stakeholder operating system, which is how companies really treat each of their stakeholders, not just shareholders, which is sort of the old school way of thinking about it, but customers, employees, suppliers, communities, and the environment, in addition to shareholders. So they've been doing a ton of research. We hooked up with them and figured out that their methodology and their approach could really be applied into a index-based ETF, and from there we're sort of off to the running.